Hi, this is Tom Painter, and this is the Money Made Easy for Young Adults. Now, if you haven't watched the Money Made Easy for teens or kids, go back and watch those because I have laid the groundwork so that it's very easy to understand. We're getting more and more complicated as we go, and so I want to make sure that you understand these other principles. Also, in addition, one of the things I'd like you to do is to make sure that you go and teach this to someone else. And so that's one of your goals, is to go watch the earlier classes. Now, of course, all the examples we use for educational purposes only. Make sure you check with your accountant or your financial advisor anytime that you are doing any kind of financial. We are an educational company only, and that's what we're here to help you with. Now, in with a dream, out with a plan. Most people don't have a dream or a plan, and your goal is to have both. We want you to have a dream of where you want to go and a plan of how you're going to get there. When I was 14 years of age, my dad told me something that I'll never forget. He said, some people make so much money off of their businesses and investment and real estate that they don't have a job. All they do is manage their businesses. And at the age of 14, my dad and I started buying and selling stock. And the important thing was that he was giving me the education, but we're actually having an experience. And so I learned from that experience. So that was very important. There's 3 steps to becoming financially free. Number 1, you need to invest in yourself first. You need to make sure that you are putting money aside for yourself and your family and your loved ones. Number 2 is we need to decrease your expenses. There's a lot of expenses you're going to have in your life. You're going to make millions of dollars in your lifetime, and you're going to spend millions of dollars in your lifetime. And we need to figure out how to decrease your expenses and increase that income and make that grow into a high net worth. So step number 1 is that we want to teach you how to manage your money. And you can do that very easily on one piece of paper. We're going to do some what ifs. Where are you now? Where are you going to be? And what if you did this? How is that going to have a big impact on your life? And 3 is creating a compelling future. Why are you doing this? Make sure that you have a huge why. Number 2 is to decrease your expenses. Every dollar you've earned is either saved and invested or spent and consumed. We're going to decrease your cash outflow without changing your lifestyle and figuring out where it all goes, and also figuring out how to avoid paying so much in taxes. Step number 3 is we're going to increase your income and your net worth. We're going to do that with figuring out how to make more money off of your job, getting a better rate of return on your investments, creating small businesses, and of course buying real estate. Now, earlier we talked about does money grow on trees, so this is kind of a review, but yes, of course it does. All people would like to be able to grow a whole orchard of money trees, and if you're going to grow a money tree, you need to use a money seed. If you didn't water your tree, it's not going to grow. So not only do you have to plant the seed, but you have to take care of that tree. You have to make it grow, and you have to water it. And you water it with dollars. It's a money tree, for example. So we're going to plant a penny as the seed, and then we're going to make it grow by adding dollars on a monthly basis. So we're going to plant a seed. Our tree's going to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. It's going to take many years for it to grow. And eventually it'll have a lot of fruit on it. Now, my friend Robert Allen taught me this about money trees, and I've used this example to help other people understand it. But he's a great author. I suggest you find his books, Robert Allen, and read his books. I'm one of his students and a business partner, and I've learned an awful lot from Robert. Would you like to see a tree that has $1 million on it? Well, this is what it kind of looks like. And of course, again, all of you are going to make and spend millions and millions of dollars in your lifetime. The goal is to have a whole orchard of fruit trees, money trees, that produce money for you every year. Now, you need to water your tree, and there is a financial formula of what you need in order to be able to have $1 million. The easiest formula is that as you make money, you're going to separate it. This is step number 2. Step number 3 is that you need to give some away to church and charity, some percentage of that money. Step number 4 is you need to save and invest. And the goal is for you to save 20% of the income that comes in and get that working for you. Save and invest it. Forget you have it. We're not going to spend it. We're going to make it. We're going to use it for our long-term investments, and then live off the balance, which is around 70%. But there's also a financial formula that you need if you want to see just financially what you need to get to that $1 million. And part of that depends on how fast your investments are growing. So in this example, we're going to say that the money you make, you're just going to simply put into a piggy bank. You're going to hide it under your mattress, or it's going into a checking account, but you're getting a 0% rate of return. It's not growing. You're just putting money in, but it's not getting any rate of return on it. And you can see this is how much money you would need at 0%. Let's take the person down the bottom far corner, left corner there. 15-year-old needs $1,667 a month. That's because they're just putting that much money in every month and it's not growing with a rate of return. 30-year-old needs $2,381. Now, if we can get our money making us money, and in this example, we're going to say that you're going to get a 3% rate of return. That means we're going to invest in bonds or certificates of deposit or long-term real estate that goes up at 3%. In this example, if you are investing in the stock market, for example, and it's going up at 3% a year, then you'd only need $719 as a 15-year-old. Look down in the bottom left-hand corner. A 30-year-old will only need $1,348. That's with a 3% return. Now, if we increase that and our trees are growing faster at a 10% rate of return, then that 15-year-old, that number drops dramatically to $58. You can see the 30-year-old drops to $263. So let's take a look at those all side by side. A 15-year-old at 0% needs $1,667. At 3%, it's only $719. And at 10%, it's $58. So you can see there's two things we have to do. One is we have to water our tree every month. Number two is we have to take care of that tree and have it grow. And as it grows, the faster it grows, the less money you actually need to water it every month. Or if you put more money into it, you'll have a tree worth a lot more than $1 million. Now here's the 5 steps to making your money tree grow. You make money, step number 1. Step number 2 is you need to separate your money. Step number 3 is to give to church and charity. 4 is to save and invest, and 5, of course, is to spend. So let's review those, and this is how it looks on a flow chart. You make it, you separate it, you give to church and charity, you save and invest. You basically have to water your money trees. And number 5 is you spend the rest. So let's watch how fast money grows. What would you rather have? $1,000 a day each day for 40 days, which would be $40,000 at the end of 40 days, or a penny doubled every day for 40 days. Pick one of those. In fact, grab a piece of paper if you would, and we're gonna give you a few questions here that I want you to be able to answer. Now, most people say they'll take the penny because they know that that's going to be worth more. Well, what if it was $10,000 a day? Which one are you going to pick? You still going to pick the penny or the $10,000? How about $100,000 a day? $100,000 a day, the penny's actually still worth more at $100,000 a day. How about $1 million a day? That's $40 million over a 40-day period of time. And again, because our investments are growing so fast, they're growing at 100% a year. Now, that's not typical of any kind of investing, but what it is just showing the power of compounding. The reality is that $1 million a day would be 40 million. On the 40th day, you would have lost. You would have lost by $5.5 billion, $5.4 billion. So the penny day double is worth an awful lot more. The piece to that is just to know that over compounding over a long period of time is where you make a lot of money. Your goal is to put money in every month, get a higher rate of return for a longer period of time. That equals true financial freedom and net worth. You'd have to have $137 million a day, every day for 40 days to equal the same as a penny doubled every day for 40 days. So here's your next question. Get out your piece of paper. You're going to answer a handful of questions. But how much would you have if you put $1 a day in a piggy bank? So that means every day you're going to take $1, you're going to put it into a piggy bank, and you can do that from the day you were born until you're 66 years of age. You got about 10 seconds to answer this one. It's either 12,000, 6,000, 24,000, or 3,000. Which one are you going to pick? Write your answer down now. And the correct answer is $24,000 a day. It is $24,000 over that 66 period of time. It's not growing. You're just putting more money every month. Now, if you put your money into a savings account and they paid you 3%, which they won't right now, but if you bought bonds or certificates of deposit or something and you left it in there and they gave you a 3% rate of return, so for every $100 you put in there at the end of the year, you'd make $3 off of it. If we put $1 a day in, and we did that, it's going to grow a little bit. So let's see what your answer is. Pick one of those, A, B, C, or D. It's either going to grow to 12,000 or 75,000, 54,000 or 133,000. Let's see if you can pick your answer now. And the correct answer is 75,000. So it's gone up quite a bit with that 3% rate of return. Now, if you got a 10% rate of return, and again, it doesn't matter if you borrowed the money at 10%, somebody's making that 10%. If your stock's going up at 10%, then it's increasing in value by 10%. And If you did the same thing, $1 a day for 66 years, that would make a big difference. Now, a lot of people are worried about the stock market because they're afraid that's going to go down in value. Well, the question is, when are you selling? If you're not selling for 5 years or 10 years or 15 years, you want it to be cheap. In fact, you want it to go down. Warren Buffett loves to buy things when they're on sale. And he's sitting on $105 billion in cash waiting for some crisis so he can buy some more companies at a cheap price. If you're going to sell in 5 years or 15 years or 20 years from now, you want the stock to be cheap so you can buy more of it. Over time, the stock market has had a positive result. In most cases, it's had a profit over any 10-year period of time. There's a few times that it might have a small bump in there. But over time, it's had a rate of return. Mostly because if you look at it and you say, well, 20 years ago, the stock was trading at that, now it's trading at this, and you can see that it's gone up. And over the next 10 or 15, 20 years, the stock's going to be worth more because it appreciates in value. Inflation is when things cost you more money. In appreciation, you appreciate it, so it's going up in value. So you got to buy things that go up in value. Now, in this case, we take $100, 10%. At the end of the year, you picked up another 10 bucks. So that's $10 in profit. So now how do you get this 10% rate of return? Well, you need to invest. One of the ways is to invest in long-term stocks and mutual funds. Stock market. Stock market is a place where you can buy a small portion of a company. You can buy Nike, McDonald's, Microsoft, Dell, and you can own a little bit of each one of those companies. When the company makes money, for example, McDonald's, I've eaten McDonald's all over the world. I've been around the world twice. There's McDonald's everywhere you go. Coca-Cola's everywhere you go. Starbucks is pretty much everywhere you go. These are companies that you can own a little bit of that company. When they make a profit, you make a very small profit. McDonald's sells a hamburger. It has expenses, but it makes a little bit of a profit. When it makes a profit, it passes that on to you. And again, it's just minute. But over time, it has made a rate of return. Now, McDonald's is owned by thousands and thousands of people. They all own a little portion of that company. And you can own a little bit of it as well. Now, you can buy individual stocks like McDonald's or Dell or GM or something like that, or you can buy a mutual fund. Now, a mutual fund is made up of companies where a professional manager is deciding which companies to buy. If he's a growth company, then he's buying companies that he thinks are going to grow. If he's a value investor, he's buying stocks that he thinks are worth more than the company is. So there's great value there. If it's an income, he thinks that they're going to go up in value. So a mutual fund is a group of companies that a professional manager is going to pick which stocks he thinks are going to go up. And it's very similar to an index fund, but he decides what you have to pay the manager a small percentage of money under management. So if you had $100 invested and he charges a 2% management fee, then he's going to charge you $2 a year to manage your $100. The S&P 500 is what we call an index fund, and what the difference is that it says here's the 500 companies. We know what they are. We're not going to buy and sell different ones. These are what they are. And so when you buy the S&P 500, you just know there's the 500 largest U.S. companies that are global. They have operations all around the world. And when you invest in the S&P 500, you buy the 500 largest global United States companies that are around the world. So that's a mutual fund, that's an index fund, such as the S&P 500. Now, what's interesting is that on average, it performs better than most mutual funds. It outperforms 2/3 of the mutual funds because the fees are very low and you're betting on the 500 biggest companies. The Vanguard is a great example of that. Vanguard buys those same 500 companies, but their fees are a little bit less than some of the other ones. And so that's a great organization to be able to use if you want to buy the top 500. But you can use Schwab, Fidelity, any brokerage account to buy the S&P 500. Now the Dow is a little bit different. The Dow is 30 companies, only 30. So it's not quite as stable. If you buy the S&P 500, you're buying a little bit of 500 companies. The Dow only has 30. And the difference is that it is a car company is one of the 30. Different industries. There's a computer company. There's a software company. There's a food company. And so it's different industries make up the Dow 30. And the Schwab 1000 is basically the top 1,000 stocks that the biggest companies that Schwab tracks. So those are different pieces in the stock market. Now, after having invested, and again, I started very young with my dad, and we didn't buy and sell a lot of stock, but I was exposed to the market. I tried to understand it, and we actually did it. We put money into it. Berkshire Hathaway is Warren Buffett's company, and it's very similar in that it's a company, it's an insurance company, and that insurance company owns a lot of other companies. And why this is significant is that it's an insurance company. If it has a premium, it's a car company like Geico, and you're paying insurance on it every month or every year, you pay your insurance, and then the likelihood that you're going to have an accident in a year is pretty low. And so they have the use of your money until there's some kind of an accident. So not only do they make a profit on that premium, but they have the use of that money. Now, why that's important is because under the umbrella of all these insurance companies that Berkshire Hathaway owns, they have 105 billion US dollars in float, where they brought in premiums. They have to pay some out later. They're going to make a profit on some of it, but they have access to that money. And so it's like getting a free loan because he's got all this money to invest, and he's bought major companies like Gillette, owns a big stake in Coca-Cola, American Express, IBM, these big companies that he has a big interest in, and he's just one of the people that owns part of that company. He's the biggest owner of the company, but you can own a little bit of Berkshire Hathaway for a very small amount, for about $180 US. And it's very small, but it has outperformed. It has had a higher rate of return than the S&P 500. And so if I was to tell you there's only one thing you could invest in, I would say put your money into Berkshire Hathaway. Now again, I'm not telling you what to do, I'm telling you what I do. I put a big chunk of that into Berkshire Hathaway. The next thing I'd put it in the S&P 500, and then even the Dow after that, or mutual funds. But Warren Buffett's company has done better than the S&P 500. Now going back to our example here of a 10% rate of return, stock market goes up, stock market goes down, but over a long period of time, it has usually gone up because it appreciates in value. Inflation is when the government can't pay their bills. For example, the United States government brings in about $2 trillion a year, which is a lot of money, but it spends $3 trillion. So it brings in 2, spends 3, and as a result, it has to borrow money. And one of the ways that it does that is that it borrows money, and of course it prints money, so it makes everything worth less money. So you got to buy things that stay up and that go up in value, that stay up with inflation. And of course, if you own it, we call it appreciation. So we want to own things that appreciate. Now going back to our example, if we had $1 a day, and the $1 a day was invested in the stock market at 10% return, how much would that be over a long period of time? 101,000, 275,000, 1.5 million, or $2.6 million. Go ahead and come up with your answer now. And the correct answer is $2.6 million. That's a 10% rate of return. Now, setting up your investment plan is very simple. Step 1 is you need to make money. Number 2 is you need to separate your money. You need to send it where you want it to go. Give some of it away, put some of it into your saving and investing, and then spend some of it. The crucial part is what we call autopilot investing. So we're going to take some money every month, and we're going to take it out of your checking account, savings account, and we're going to move it right over to an investment account. Now, when you go to the bank, you can open up a savings account. That's kind of an account, and you're actually loaning money to the bank. When you open up an account, you're loaning money to the bank. They might not pay you anything, but you're loaning it to them. And when you own stock, then you are an owner. Either you loan or you own. And when you put money in the bank, you're loaning money, which they're not really paying you anything, and most of the time they're charging you. If you put it in the stock market, then you own a little bit of all these companies. So the key is to make this on an autopilot so that you're taking money every month out of your savings checking and moving it into your mutual funds. This is crucial. If you do, you make the decision once, you set it up, go to the bank, say, I want to take $100, $200, $300 every month out of my checking account and put it into a mutual fund. And the mutual fund or the brokerage house like Schwab or Fidelity will automatically invest that for you every month. I've been doing this for years with our kids. Make the decision once and make it work. If you do this one thing, that's going to solve probably 80% of your financial problems you're going to have in your lifetime. So this is very crucial. You can start with different accounts. Just like you can go to Wells Fargo or Chase to open up a checking account, you can go to Schwab or Fidelity, ING Direct, any of these companies to open up an investment accounts. Just go online, do some research, and you'll find one and it'll tell you what you need to be able to do that. Now, how much would you owe if you charged $1 a day on your credit card at 21% interest? So if you take $1 a day and you charge it on a credit card at 21% interest, then that's going to be significantly more than a 10% because of the compounding effect. At the end of 66 years, how much would you owe? Here's 6 million, 24 million, 156 million, or $1.6 billion. Give you 7 seconds to try to come up with your answer. Pick one, write it down. And the correct answer is D, $1.6 billion. Because of the compounding effect. Because money is making money or charging money on top of money. Okay. Now, I'm going to teach you how to manage your money on one piece of paper. And the biggest problem with money management is that people run out of money before they run out of month. And so I'm going to teach you how to change that around. I'm going to teach you how to run out of month before you run out of money. The system's so simple that you can manage it on one piece of paper. That's a money tracker. And it'll help you to pace the money you're spending through the month. If you have X number of dollars and you have so many days to spend it on, you'll figure out how to do that. If you have more dollars and more days, you'll figure out how to do that. And so we're not putting this into QuickBooks. We're not tracking anything. We're just figuring out how to pace ourselves through the month. And again, there's the 5 steps. And those 5 steps, you'll notice, break down into the ones for adults. So for adults, of course, you make it, and that's your income, your job, your spouse's job, if your spouse has a job, whatever income that you have coming in, that's your take-home pay. And that's step number 2 is to sort it or separate it, assign it where you want it to go. So we've got to do that right off the get-go. So we're going to assign it. We're going to take some of that money and we're going to put it over into the Give It account. We're going to put some of it in step number 4, which is the Invest In account. And then we're going to take some of it and we're going to put it into the Spend. Now on Spend, you have 2 major kinds of spends. You have stuff that's fixed. Every month I've got a rent payment or a car payment or a house payment. I've got a student loan payment. That's fixed. I know what's going to be every month for the next year or so. Variable is things like food, school, clothing, gas, entertainment. Those vary on a month to month. But the goal is to be able to figure out in advance where you want your money to go. And the goal is actually to take more of the money out of the spend side and put it in the invest side so that you can have as much money in your invest working for you. And it all flows to a page like this. And then what happens from here is that once you put everything in the left column, then that all equals down to the bottom, money in versus money out. And that's your goal, is to be able to, some people call it a budget, some people call it an allocation, some people put it as spend targets. But what it is it's telling you how much money you have for each of those things. Now the top 4 are pretty much set. You're saying, I'm going to give this much to charity, I'm going to save and invest this much, I've got this much that I have to spend on fixed expenses. The only thing you really have is the variable. And so that's what we're going to look at, the variable, which is the red one down towards the bottom. And again, all those equal to the money out down at the very bottom. So this is a way that we're going to be doing our budgeting. Now the only thing that you can really control after you make your decisions is the variable spending. How much money are we going to spend on things that vary each month? And so what we do is we actually go put all this information into the computer. There's a little program that we have. And you can print this out and use it. You just put the data in. And then what it does is that it takes those 5 areas right there, for example, food and school. Once you put those all in, it drops them into a category or a line. So you can see for food, we got $200 for the month. School expenses, 100, close 200. And that takes it from there and puts it right into the full page. Then what happens is that as you spend money, then it has a way of being, you go down and you put it. So if you start with $200 and you spent 40 of it, well, now you've only got $160 left. And if you go one more step and you say, well, I'm going to spend another $40, that drops you down to $120. If you spend another $50, you're down to $70. And so the thermometer is going down just like it does with the kids. The difference is it says day 1 through day 31. Now, if you're spending your money and your thermometer is going down fast, and it's going faster than the days of the month, then you're spending your money too fast. Okay. So just make sure you understand. So there's the school expenses, same thing. Start out with 100, spent 10, now I'm down to 90. My thermometer's going down, 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 down. And the way this works is that we're looking at the days of the month. So right now in this example, you see we're at the 15th of the month. And so we haven't spent that much money. The thermometer's going down, and for food, we haven't spent that much. We're actually okay on target. We're okay for school expenses. Okay? And then, of course, this continues to go forward as we go through all the programs. Now, what's really nice on this is that we've actually added 4 more days. Every month has 35 days, right? So we've added 4 more days on the very bottom of it. So as you're spending and your thermometers are going down, or your thermometer's going down faster than the days of the month. And this helps you to pace where you can tell if you have enough money. Again, this isn't going into QuickBooks. All we're doing is trying to pace where our money's going. Okay, and that's really kind of how it works. Now, if we have extra money, and we have some credit card debt, let's pay off the credit card debt. Debt's dumb, unless it makes you money. If it makes you a lot of money, that's okay. You only want to use debt if it's in things that make you money. We never use consumer debt for things that go down in value. We do it for things that go up in value, and then use it very smartly. If you have credit cards, we want to get those paid off. And then our goal is to take extra cash that we have and get it into that long-term saving investing account. Now, when we talk about investment options, let's take a look at this one. Very few people really quite understand this, but just like you can open up a savings account or a checking account at the bank, you can also open up an investment account. An investment account, you can buy and sell stocks and do loans. Basically, you can buy a bond. But in this example, we're going to use an investment account. Now, this investment account, we're putting $250 a month in it. You're working for a company, they're not adding anything to it. There's no tax deduction, and you can do this every month for 40 years. And over the lifetime, we figure some years goes up, some years goes down, but over a lifetime, for a calculation here, we're saying it's going up 10% a year. So it's $120,000 is how much you put in that over that 40-year period of time. And it's appreciated $1.3 million. Now, the problem with that is that when you get old and gray and you retire and you start pulling that money out of the investment account, you're going to have to pay some taxes on it. Taxes at retirement is 30%. So the net after you pay the taxes, and that is about $938,000. That's in a regular investment account. Now, there's 2 kinds of other investment accounts. One is where you get a tax deduction today, and one where you don't get a tax deduction today. And so all of you are familiar with an IRA, which is an individual retirement account. And when you contribute to your IRA, you get a tax deduction today, and you pay less taxes today. So here's how it works. Let's say that you made $100,000 at your job, and you report $100,000 to the IRS. Hey, I made $100,000 this year, and we're going to make an IRA contribution of $3,000. So what that does is it takes the salary of 100. We're going to subtract the 3,000 that we made as a contribution. So we're reporting to the IRS that we really only made 97. We call this your adjusted gross income. 100,000 salary, but we made a deduction because we're getting a tax deduction because we contributed to IRA today. And so that means that we reduced our report to the IRS down to 97. The benefit is that you can deduct them out this year. The problem is that when you withdraw it, you have to pay taxes on it. And so our goal is to have a big chunk of money when we retire and not have to pay taxes on it. That's really the goal. And so as you can see, you do that same $250 a month. You get a little bit of a tax deduction, which is nice, but the problem is that we're going to have to pay a whole bunch of money in taxes. And you'd see you'd have $1 million at retirement, which would be nice. But let's look at another option. The next option is that we want to retire tax-free. Now, in order to do that, we need to put that into what we call a Roth IRA. And the concept on this is very simple. Your salary is $100,000, and you report $100,000. Now, you did make a $3,000 contribution into your Roth IRA. You just don't get any tax benefits. The biggest plus is that when you retire, you don't have to pay any taxes, period. You don't have to pay any taxes, which is huge. And so in this example, you made that same $250 in column A on the monthly. You got $1.4 million on there. You don't have to pay any taxes because you didn't take a discount or a tax break when you did it. So you got an extra $400,000 in there. Now the last one is basically a 401k, and the benefit and the beauty of this is that you're going to double the money that goes in there. Now most companies are dropping their 401ks, but in this example, let's say that you have some kind of a match, like in this example, a 3% match. So if you put in 3% and your employer puts in another 3%, you're doubling your money. So in this example, your salary is $100,000. You're reporting at $100,000 to the IRS. You're going to contribute $3,000, which means that you are going to then deduct that off of your income taxes. We're going to have to pay a lot of taxes later, but the company is going to match it as well. So if you have a 401k where the retirement account is matching what you're doing, then the company matches it for an additional $3,000. So your total contribution is $6,000. So we've doubled how much money we're putting in on every month. Now the benefit is that you can deduct that money that you put into your account. The big benefit is that you got it doubled because you have an employer that matched what you did. Now be careful in how much they match. Sometimes they'll match 100% up to 2 or 3% of your salary. Sometimes they only do 50%. But the big challenge is that when you retire, you got to pay taxes on it. You got to pay taxes on all of it. And so you got to have a big chunk of money there. And people say, well, I'll be in a lower tax bracket. The likelihood of that is pretty low because of the tax brackets are still climbing, and you'll be in a higher tax bracket because you'll have more money. You'll be in a higher bracket because of inflation. So when you retire, the problem with this is you got to pay taxes. Now the big plus to that is that you're going to have a lot more money in there. Now a lot of people say, well, I don't have enough money to make that work. I'm just not making enough money from my payroll. One of the things you can do is you can have them withhold, change your withholding on your W-4. And the goal is not to get a big tax refund at the end of the year, because you're basically letting the government borrow the money from you for free. Now, if we did that, that would make a huge difference, because now we're going to double the money that's going into our long-term 401k program, and that's going to be worth a lot more money to you. Anyway, this has been Tom Painter, and this has been the Money Made Easy for Young Adults program. I'd like you to go to the next program, which is the Money Made Easy for Adults. Our goal is to continue to get more and more complex. It wouldn't hurt for you to go through the teen program, because there's a lot of things in the teen program that I didn't cover here. And of course, your big goal is to make sure that you can train and teach other people. So the only way that you can really make a dent in the world is to train and teach others. If you only give somebody money or knowledge, what are you going to give them? You're going to give them knowledge. But the real key is to give them an experience to go with that knowledge. If you can have a money experience, then you're going to have peace. Anyway, this is Tom Painter. Thanks for being with our class, and we'll see you in the next class.